My name is Cameron Monroe. I'm a member of the Association T4 research team. We've been going for 8 years now. We are a mixture, a strange mixture of Poles and British, and we research primarily the Holocaust and euthanasia in the Wartheland, or the Wartheland as it was known then. We have been researching Chelmno, stroke KULMHOF, for the last 6 years. And like anything, we have a number of draft books ready to be published, but we haven't published them yet, as is the norm for historians, I would say. But hopefully, the aim of today is to really give you, if you haven't been there already, a very detailed understanding of KULMHOF and Chelmno and how that fitted into the Holocaust in the Wartheland. So what I want to do first is give you an overview of what we're talking about in terms of the Holocaust in the Wartheland, because KULMHOF was the death camp for the Wartheland. So we'll talk about this first. So what are we talking about when we're talking about Reichsgaues Wartheland? This was formed in October 39 and incorporated into the Altreich from parts of Poland. Primarily 3 areas. So in the south you've got Lippmannstadt, where the main city there is obviously Lippmannstadt, but the district was also called Lippmannstadt. In the north you've got the district of Hohensalza. I'll use the German names here. Hohensalza. And this district was also called Hohensalza. And in the west, you've got Posen, the district of Posen, where the main city was also Posen. And these are the 3 areas. Now this whole area, incorporated into the Third Reich in October 1939, had a total population of about 5 million. Of these 5 million, approximately 4 million were Poles, 430,000 were Jews, and there were approximately just over 500,000 Germans. So this is what we're talking about. And the KULMHOF and the Holocaust in the Wartheland is primarily the Holocaust of the Jews of Lippmannstadt city, 230,000, and Lippmannstadt district. There were very few Jews in the west, in the Posen area. There were some Jews in the Hohensalza area. So the Reichsstatthalter and Gauleiter was Arthur Greiser, good friend of Heinrich Himmler. So one of the interesting areas in investigating the Nazi times in the Wartheland was the fact that the Wartheland really was a testing area. This is where the Reich Commissioner for the Strengthening of Germandom was very strong. Himmler had big influence. Greiser was always asking him to do things. And in fact, it can be argued, in some respects, that the push for killing Jews came from the Wartheland, Greiser discussing with Himmler. I think Herr Neumarker mentioned earlier, one of the other areas we're really interested in is the killing of mental patients in the Wartheland, which was the precursor to the killing of the Jews. And again, this was being pushed locally by Greiser and the administration of the Wartheland. Arthur Greiser, obviously. These are 2 interesting photos we found in the archives in Warsaw, IPM. These are quite early photographs from late 39 of Jewish persons being victimized by German police. As you see here, these are just normal gendarme Schutzpolizei. Also want to talk a bit about the ghettos, because this is a very important area. It's not an exact size, but we think there were 57 ghettos in the Wartheland in 1940 and 41. Some of these had existed for many years in the Polish times. When the Nazis took power, they formalized, in many respects, the ghetto system. Some of these ghettos were closed ghettos, some were open ghettos, and you also have this concept of village ghettos. So this is a series of villages connected together which were open, but they moved Jews into these areas. So there's really three types of ghettos there. Obviously the biggest ghetto, the most well-known ghetto, was Lippmannstadt, where part of the city of Lippmannstadt was sealed off and the Jews actually brought into the ghetto. In 1939, of the total population of Lippmannstadt, 650,000, approximately 233,000 were Jews. It's interesting what happened. They started to build the ghetto in early 1940, and I think by towards the end of 1940, the ghetto was sealed off and complete. Post that, it was very interesting, the development of the ghetto system in Waldlager, because in mid-1942 they decided to make Lippmannstadt the super ghetto of the Wartheland. What this meant was they closed all of the other ghettos in the Wartheland, either by sending the Jews to KULMHOF to be killed, or they sent part of the Jews to KULMHOF to be killed and the rest to Lippmannstadt. So this became a massive working ghetto. So this was to create a labour pool for the Nazis in the Waldlager to be used for labour. Interesting as well, Lippmannstadt was the first large-scale ghetto in the whole Nazi period. So, as I said, begun in February 1940. This is the first large-scale ghetto. We do a lot of work, a lot of projects. One of the projects we started last year was to visit every ghetto in the Wartheland to try and identify where the ghetto was in each place, see what memorials existed, etc., etc. This actually has turned out to be a very interesting project because, like many things in Poland, a lot of things survived the war and still exist. Not like West Germany, which is all new and not much exists anymore. If you actually go to some of the towns and cities in the Posen area, you'll find a lot of the ghetto areas are actually complete. It's like walking back in time a bit. Similar to Lippmannstadt, if you've never been to Lippmannstadt and you want to get some feeling for how the ghetto might have existed or felt at the time, this is the place to go because large parts are completely intact and you can get a really good sense of what it might have felt like and what it might have looked like. So one of the jobs we have been doing is tracking down what photographs exist from the time of the ghettos and actually revisiting and trying to map out what's left, as I said, what memorials there are. It's interesting in terms of the ghettos, there aren't actually many memorials in each of the different cities and places that exist anymore. There are in a few, but not many. It's not something that's been really looked at in terms of memorialization. And maybe it should be, actually. This is a very important area. So what we're looking at here is entrance to the ghetto in Prashka. As you see, this is the synagogue. One of the other interesting things we found is quite a lot of the synagogues survived the war. They weren't all destroyed, as you might have thought of as in a Reichskristallnacht type event. A lot of the synagogues actually have survived. And they're used for different things like community centres. It's quite amazing, the number. I was quite surprised that we managed to find so many still existing. So again, there are not so many, but there are photographs existing of the transport of Jews from various ghettos, either directly to KULMHOF or to the Lippmannstadt ghetto. Did I miss one? That's right. I missed one. Again, this is the ghetto of Ghettos, and what we're looking at here on the right-hand side is a picture of the actual deportation of the Jews from the ghetto, and they're being marched down the street to the railway station to be put on trains to Chelmno, and hence to KULMHOF to be murdered. Again, let's say we're always interested in these things. We've sort of retaken the route that the Jews went to the railway station. As you see, not much has changed. These are exactly the same buildings. The route's the same. You can still see the railway station. It's all existed. And again, this is another photo from the time. This is the Jews of Ishbika Kujawska. Apologies for my Polish. Maybe Arthur should be saying this. Being transported to KULMHOF in January 1942. And obviously, given really when we talk about the Holocaust and the Wartheland or Warthegau, we're talking about really the Holocaust of the Jews in the Lippmannstadt ghetto primarily. So we have some photos here. There are many photos from Lippmannstadt. If you go to the Polish archives in Lodz, they have hundreds of photographs, black and white, colour, many different photographs documenting the life of the ghetto. A lot of people or historians try and differentiate KULMHOF from the ghettos. To us, they're actually totally connected because, for many reasons, the Holocaust in Wartheland, Warthegau, was organised by many people. There were many people involved. This is not just a few Nazi fanatics deciding to kill the Jews. This was organised on an administrative level in the whole Wartheland, Warthegau. So, for example, the man responsible for the Lodz ghetto, Bibov, he was in KULMHOF many times. He was organising, he was collecting goods from KULMHOF, he was visiting the camp, he was discussing with the SS who ran KULMHOF camp which ghettos should be liquidated, which Jews from the ghetto should go to Lippmannstadt, which Jews should be directly sent to KULMHOF to be killed. So this is really a Wartheland, Warthegau wide organisational effort. And for me, one of the interesting things in doing all of this research is I'm very interested to the extent of how many people were involved in the process of actually killing the Jews. And this is many more, in my view, than people think. This is not just a few Nazi fanatics. This is the whole administration.